What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today we're going to look at some of the new exotic weapons coming in Rise of Iron. We've got some short gameplay clips of some of the weapons in action from Game Informer, and want to show you guys the footage while I go over some of the things we know about the exotics so far. So Game Informer once again gave us a pretty good look at some of the new exotic weapons when they uploaded some Supremacy gameplay, the new game mode. So we've got a pretty good look at the Trespasser, which is the new exotic sidearm coming in the expansion. We've got a few gameplay clips of the thing in action, and this thing looks pretty decent. It's actually really good looking. In terms of its looks, it does look very cool. It's got a very traditional kind of like pistol look to it, the way it reloads, the way it fires, the way it aims down sight. It's just a very cool looking pistol, very squared off as well. But in terms of its actual performance, it doesn't seem too bad. It seems like a really good sidearm for once. It seems like everything the Drake's Promise should have been. Of course, it's a burst of fire and it's also arc, so very similar to the Drake's Promise, but actually kills people relatively quickly. Of course, like most sidearms, it's only going to be good up close. At further range, it's not really going to do much damage. But as you can see with this kill, at the closer range, this is about as close as it does get, so the damage probably isn't dropping off much at all. It was doing 37, 38 to the head, and of course that's 3-round bursts. That's a lot of damage, and it normally kills in around 3 bursts. So it's pretty good in terms of its DPS. Of course, ammo is always going to be a concern. You can't run around with this as a primary weapon because, of course, you're going to run out very quickly, and they pretty much spawn you every life with a couple of magazines. So you basically get kind of constantly respawned with a steady amount, but not enough to go around using this as a primary weapon. So it's never going to be used as a primary, but as a secondary backup, it's going to be a pretty decent weapon, and I feel like it could be worth the exotic slot. I mean, I most of the time tend to use a legendary as my primary, so I feel like this could be justified as using exotic in my secondary. I'm not really too sure. I don't really use sidearms all that much, but this thing looks decent. I think this could be justified as an actual good replacement for a shotgun, maybe if you want to use a little bit further range weapons but not be rushing in people's faces. This thing looks pretty decent. I'm impressed so far, and I love the design of it as well. So that is the Trespasser exotic sidearm. Now, next up, we got a good look at the Khvostov auto rifle. Now, this thing really impressed me. The gameplay looks incredible. Of course, auto rifles have basically gotten worse over time in Destiny. They got a little bit better around the April update. In the recent months, they seem to be usable. But this Khvostov actually seems pretty decent. It absolutely, no doubt, kills a lot quicker than most of the auto rifles you'll see right now. Of course, it does have two different fire modes. One is 450 RPM and one is 900, so exactly doubling it. The 450 is the same as the Grim Citizen and the Shadow Price, and 900, of course, is the same as Doctrine. I feel like as a Doctrine, it could maybe compete with it, but this is a really strong-looking weapon. You can see some of these kills, they're unassisted, just straight-up gunfights, and he's getting pretty much melted. So the Khvostov does actually look pretty decent, which is really good to see. And of course, you can boost things like stability, you can change things for range. You can basically use the weapon exactly how you want to. There's quite a ton of exotic perks you can choose between. So the Khvostov seems pretty decent. The kill time just seems like it can actually put in some work and not just like tickle enemies like most of the auto rifles have been recently. This thing looks really good, and I definitely want to try the thing out. Hopefully it's not just really hyped up and actually does do some work in the Crucible. It would be nice to see something like the Khvostov, actually one of the best weapons in the game. I'm not sure if Bungie have actually implemented an auto rifle buff in this patch. In the patch that we played at Gamescom, the auto rifle did seem pretty good. The Extremophile, which is a dead orbit auto rifle. I may have some gameplay of the thing going up. I'm not sure how much footage I got of it. The auto rifle in that build was really good, and that was with 0 perks. No perks at all, no range, no accuracy. Just the base standard legendary auto rifle was actually a really good weapon, and I think a lot of people agreed it was probably the best weapon in the build. So perhaps auto rifles are going to be the best kind of weapon in this new Rise of Iron meta. It could be interesting for sure, but I think auto rifles are definitely something to look out for. They seem to be performing very, very well. So the other exotic we got a little bit of gameplay in the Bungie Vidoc is the Nemesis Star. This, of course, is the exotic machine gun. We got a quick glimpse at its perks. It, of course, does solar damage. We can make out a few of them like Spray and Play, Perfect Balance, Field Scout, Flared Magwell, and something involving range. I feel like one of the exotic perks may be something to do with the fire rate and actually increasing it, because you'll notice the stat bar is actually the same archetype as the Thunderlord and also Quilliam's Terminus, which is a pretty average and pretty modest rate of fire. It's about in the middle somewhere, but in the gameplay it fires very, very quickly. So maybe one of the exotic perks actually increases the fire rate. I'm really hoping this weapon is actually good, because it's very rare that machine guns, and especially exotic ones, have been useful. The Thunderlord and Super Good Advice do look very cool. They're some of my favorite looking exotics, especially the Thunderlord. But in terms of actual performance, they just don't seem to make the cut, and they aren't really worth that exotic slot, especially compared to things like the Raise Lighter or even rocket launchers. It's going to have to compete with the Alahorn. So I'm hoping this machine gun is actually decent, but I guess we're going to have to wait and see. So the final thing I want to talk about is this thing, which we've talked about plenty of times before on the channel. This, of course, is that mysterious exotic pulse rifle. This thing probably has the most hype surrounding it out of any exotic we've seen so far. And in the community, I think most people are definitely excited to see what this thing can do, how you get it, and if it's actually as good as it looks. Like I've said before in the initial video talking about this, it just looks incredible. It looks way too good to be true. I'm just kind of waiting for the catch to see what isn't so good about this weapon and where the downside is. because it looks literally like a Yellowhorn firing pulse rifle. I think there are two main downsides that there could be with this weapon. The first one being that not every single kill guarantees those Wolfpack rounds to come out of it, or it could be something to do with the ammo, because of course in the footage he has 0 in reserve ammo and only 14 to 11 in the actual magazine, so maybe it doesn't come with much ammo at all. But it's definitely a downside. I'm just kind of waiting for it. I really wish we would get a weapon like this, but I feel like it's impossible that Bungie would give us a weapon that literally just fires Wolfpack rounds on every single headshot. I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe just once per magazine, or there's like a really small chance of it happening. But either way, I think it's going to be a really cool exotic, and also it does, of course, have Outlaw, so those headshots are going to reload the magazine really quickly. So those are just my thoughts and ramblings about these exotics and what I think is going to happen with them. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, of course. What do you think is up with this pulse rifle? And also let me know your thoughts on the other weapons. What do you think about them? Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. As always, your like ratings are much appreciated. And of course, subscribe for a bunch more Rise of Iron videos on the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one.